She's a mega star right now, right? So I think more of what is happening is his desire to control, to poke at her because she has decided to let him go. Does he want her to pay taxes? Maybe. Does he want a house? Maybe. Does he want custody? Probably not. But all of that still keeps him connected to her. And welcome back to Legally Uncensored, where we break down love, law, and the messy middle. Today, we are doing something special. The producer of this very show, the creative brain, the one who keeps us flowing, booked, and of course keeps me on track, is officially in the building. I'm kind of nervous, but hey, Crystal.
Do not be nervous. I love working with you. Yes, I'm excited to be here. I guess I should introduce myself. I'm used to telling you what to do behind the scenes, but yeah, I am Crystal Devone, aka C Devone, and I'm the producer of this lovely show. And we are going to get into some good stuff today. Some a little celebrity gossip, but also we know that divorce is a little, it's hard. And when you make it to Demetria's office, we want to be as resourceful as possible. So no hot seat. We're having a good time, and shedding a little light on some divorces, I guess. No.
And there's a lot right now.
Yeah, there is a lot going on right now. So yeah, so let's go into it. Demetria, I feel like people don't get to know you as much
Mhm.
as they should. They know that you are the lawyer, they know that you are the host of this show. But I guess everyone knowing your why is so important, and one of the reasons why I am here. And I just would love for you to tell the listener before we get into some celebrity gossip, like the why behind the podcast.
I live in Los Angeles where things are very, very expensive, including lawyers. So sometimes, one, people can't afford the service. So I still wanted people to have the information, the knowledge to navigate this because it's extremely challenging to go through a divorce. Right. And in my job, I can't cover a lot of the topics that we cover on this podcast. Right. When to leave, when to stay, how to get therapy, how to live after your divorce, and a lot of things we cover. I can't spend one-on-one time with each client like, maybe I would want to. So I wanted to create a platform where women and otherwise can come and kind of listen in more detail to the things I wish I can say to each and every one of my clients. So this was the best platform to do so.
I love that. And also, it could be a way for, when you can't, speak to them, here's an episode
Right. Here's the
on
link.
XYZ,
Right.
very, very importante.
Yes.
So I love that. And one of the reasons why I'm here. So as I mentioned, I'm a producer. I'm also a DJ as well, and I do something called Morning Thoughts. So I'm gonna bring it to Legally Uncensored, where we're gonna set the intentions of letting go. So I think the biggest thing that we talk about on this podcast is reinventing yourself, moving on, letting go of this negativity in the bad way. So we're gonna do that right now, right? We're setting our intentions to let go, go
Yeah.
with the flow, and then we're gonna get into some celebrity gossip.
Let's do it.
So, one of the things that I wanted to talk about on the show before we get into the celebrity gossip is all of this stuff can happen to anyone. It's just that people have more money than the other, right?
Right.
When we get into the Nicole Kidmans and Cardi B and Jessica Alba, and we didn't even, prepare for David Geffen. Was it,
Right. It's so many right now.
it's so many, and we wanted to go through some of like divorce history and really make it relatable to everyone, because we say, oh, they have money, and it's like, but there are so many nuances that could just be related to the everyday person that we're not talking about. And I know offline, Dimitri and I talk about people who feel like they have nothing. And as we just were wrapping up a show about like the emotional bankruptcy, and like when I read those words, I just like got so sensitive about it. And it really just, went on my heartstrings to hear that, because that people don't take into that. They say, "Well, I want," one girlfriend said, "I want to come in, I don't want nothing to, the Tina Turner. I just want
Right.
nothing but my name." And I'm like,
That is TV, y'all. That is TV. Let's not do that.
once again, that is TV, a 100%, and we need to make sure that people are protecting themselves, especially in this economy.
Right.
Okay, so celebrities. I just want to go into some celebrity divorces, whether and breakups, because once again, as we are cultivating the show, it's not just about divorces. It might just be breakups, relationships, and how you can protect yourself, your assets, your emotional tolls, all that stuff there. So let's get into the first person I have on this list is Cardi B and Offset. And I'm calling this the financial hostage energy, right? Okay, we got Cardi B and Offset, and he wants to joint custody, which is like crazy because you see him like never with his children. I mean, okay, let me rephrase that. Cardi B is always with her children, it seems. I don't know her, even though I am from the Bronx, New York.
Hmm.
So I do feel connected to her in some way. But one thing I can say about her is she just appears to be such a loving mother. And I know that that's a tactic in divorce when people want to apply for joint custody, because I don't know the why about it. Maybe you could talk about the legal reasons, but also he wants her to pay the taxes or like and transfer properties and stuff.
Hmm.
Th- I need the legal jargon and understanding of this type of financial hostage energy. And I'm pretty sure you see it in
Right.
every day, all the
Well,
time.
we just had a show that talked to us about learning to let go out of chaos, right? And this seemed that Cardi B walked away at a point where he wasn't ready for her to do so. Despite all the things he did to her, I don't think he thought she was going to leave him. And with that big Libra energy that she has, she did, right? She walked and started a new life. And I think a lot of this shows that he's having a, based on what we see, right? So let us give that disclaimer. I'm just going by what we all see. It seems like he's having a very hard time letting her go and releasing whatever control he felt he had over her. She's a mega star right now, right? So I think more of what is happening is his desire to control, his desire to poke at her because she has decided to let him go. So, does he want her to pay taxes? Maybe. Does he want a house? Maybe. Does he want custody? Probably not. But all of that still keeps him connected to her in some way.
Well, getting back to like emotional, tolls and bankruptcy. So let's flip this because let me be clear, I'm on Cardi B's side for everything. Uh, However, when they first got together and she was on the rise, and now they were this power couple and they're building stuff kind of together, and now the decline of Migos and one of the members dying, it seems like he's gonna have challenges. Like, will he work and make money? Yes, but together they were a force. So
Absolutely.
now it seems to me that the money, yes, is the thing, but together it makes more dollars than it makes sense, right?
Right.
So I feel like that's part of it too, where maybe he thinks like he deserves more because it wasn't that she needed him, but it was something about like the missing ingredient in the like apple pie or the cake, like it was really good. But then when we got together, we put some icing on it and now it's delicious.
Vanilla ice cream. Vanilla ice cream. Right, yeah, but I think he has to accept some responsibility in his actions in the relationship based on what we saw. She filed maybe 2 times before she actually went through with the process. So there, from what, if she's filing, I assume, I don't know for sure, but I assume that there were issues throughout the relationship, and that third time, I guess, was the charm, and she actually went through with it. I think he thought she would continue to put up with his behavior. And I it appears from what is happening, enough is enough, and she decided to move on, and fairly quickly. She's not even divorced and has a new baby, which a lot of people ask me. So presumptively, in some states, if you have a baby and you're still married, with some conditions, presumptively that baby is a baby of the marriage. But in this case, it's not so. They were living separate and apart. I don't think that that's going to be an issue, but over the last couple weeks, it's alleged that he was saying things of that nature, like that's my baby or whatever the situation is, and that leads me to believe that you don't want to handle, as we talk about very often here, you don't want to handle the business of ending this relationship. He is getting something of tying himself to her, keeping the discussion of the end of their relationship relevant, which concerns me as a divorce attorney because that tells me a couple of things. One, he hasn't really dealt with the fact, or he wants to keep their demise of the relationship relevant because that keeps him relevant. But at the end of the day, they're both going to end up spending way more money than they need to until they both understand that this is business. Divorce is business. Yes, we talk about it. We're talking about it here, but you have to handle the business of divorce, or you're going to pay your respective counsel attorneys a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was gonna do some quick fire with you, but I'll wait to the end on that
Okay.
because that's, uh, the biggest thing is the separation. It's like we need a little, hypnotizing to say, all right, you are now going through a divorce, and now you have to take all your emotions out, which is, you'll be a sociopath. You can do that.
Right.
That's why most of the sociopaths and narcissists, maybe get more in a divorce or fight for more just by the nature of it, right?
Right.
Speaking of something, because we're gonna get back to that, because I want to know what Demetria would definitely do if these were her clients, right?
Mhm.
Um, something the never ending, and these were, I love this couple at one point, Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt.
They're actually 10 times worse than what we were talking about. That is ridiculous.
Okay, so I don't really know enough. I put it in our notes just because maybe because I love Brad Pitt. I don't know. I mean, or I used to love him.
Right.
I don't know. Everyone seems problematic. Like before social media, where we got to like truly know people, we were
Mhm.
like, wow, they're so great.
Yeah.
Like Leonardo DiCaprio. Now you're like, wait, he dates 19-year-old models. What a weirdo. So with that being said, so let's talk about it. So they have this never ending divorce. So I thought they were divorced. Do you know if they're
I
divorced or
think
not?
they finally finalized their divorce after many, many, many years, but I think they just finalized maybe this year.
Oh my gosh. So apparently it's been about 8 years and they've been
Yes.
fighting over Chateau Miraval.
Very good wine, by the way. Have you tasted the wine?
So I'm today years old
Uh-huh.
when I learned that they were in association with that. I drink
Yes.
Miraval. First of all, I'm a rosé drinker.
So am I.
Yeah. That's why
See?
we love each other. I mean, my moniker is Rose Devone.
Right. It's really good.
It's great. The price point, I love that. And Whispering Angel, they do not sponsor this podcast, so we're gonna keep going. And it's just crazy because even as we go into the next couple, is like these businesses, like what happened when love mixes with business and you have these co-ownerships and um you know let's go into, yes, we put the money together, let's just say all of our money, or I put more, but the sweat equity, right? We always know that no one's equally doing the same things when it comes to a business, right?
Right.
If I'm picking out the pillows and you're just giving me the money, like it's all different toll that it takes on people financially, emotionally. So let's talk about this. 8 years. Can we even estimate how much this cost?
Oh, millions. Millions. Easy. Millions. But then see what happens, especially for celebrities, right? Because money is flowing. You have attorneys at $1,000 an hour. You both have locked horns,
They're not even working. Since this divorce, they haven't really been
but they're
working.
both worth a lot of money, right? So, but like once you lock horns, if there is no one telling you both, hey, you all are spending a lot of money. Or sometimes people don't care that they're spending that kind of money because they're focused on the fight.
Well, that
And
goes back to something we talked about with the narcissistic behavior is
Mhm.
you don't care how much it costs because you're focused on.
Winning. But then at the end of the day, what are you winning? Like ultimately, what are you winning? Because if it's a business to me, that's easy enough. That's easy enough to break down, right? But so when you're locked horns for 8 years, that tells me it's something. It's bigger than the business. Your kids are grown. It can't just be this business. I'm sure you have business deals and arrangements and contracts. So what is it really about?
At this point, I laugh and say I could be a paralegal because I've been, working on this show for some years, and I feel like I fake know some things. But the one thing that just stuck out to me is the domino effect, right? Okay, we're fighting over the winery, right? But also, if we're connected with kids for the rest of our life, even after 21, they're not ready. They're still going to need money and all these things. But now you're taking away money from that with these lawyers'
Yep.
fees, or you're getting more. It doesn't matter. We're paying 50-50. I'm struggling. I'm downsizing. You're upsizing, but now you need more money. And it's just like this seesaw of financial stuff. And as I think about the people I know going through a divorce, and it's like, well, you take this, you take that. And now it's pulling from one side, and the other person may have some relief, but it doesn't really help anyone.
Nope.
Unless you have unlimited amounts of money, which maybe like they do. they pre-
But why do you wanna pay lawyers, right? I think you can think of a million things to do.
Coming from a lawyer,
Right. I'm sure you could think of a million other ways to spend those millions that you're giving to the lawyers.
yeah, that's the thing that I just want to know. Like, how can people truly understand that? It's like the Jay-Z verse, like when the family feuds, right? Like
Right.
nobody wins. Like it's just so crazy, especially when you know that there are kids in college, they're gonna need money, but it's now the person wants to hurt the person. Or I think the one thing you probably hear all the time is I deserve. That should be on the t-shirt, right? It's
Right.
like I deserve says someone going through a divorce, which you know that's and I apparently they can't stand each other. I mean, that's what it looks like. I wouldn't be.
Yeah, when you're fighting for 8 years, it's really hard to be friends.
It goes back to that. That's the deserving energy.
Mhm.
Let's put a pin in that, right? So we
Okay.
have like the financial hostage, the deserving energy. Now let's go to the calm divorce.
Mhm.
This is
My
my girl right
favorite.
here. Another Bronx person. I did not do this on purpose,
Mhm.
but we got Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck.
Yeah, they did it right. If we're gonna do it, let's do it like that, right? They understand.
When you say like that, what do you mean by that?
I'm saying they understand this concept of this is business. We don't need to lock horns. I mean, granted, they didn't have kids together in the whole 9 yards, right? They weren't married that long, so it makes it a little easier to buy into this concept that I'm saying that this is business. But they did buy into that this is business. We're going to get in and get out. We're going to get to this mediation, not spend as much money. You keep your ring, you keep this, I keep that. We're going about our business.
Okay, so the context is they finalized their divorce, no spousal support, straight mediation, and she kept her ring, clean break, everyone goes their separate ways.
And I bet you they spent a quarter of what the other couples that we've discussed have spent.
Now, do we know if they had a prenup? I don't think it's documented.
I'm not sure if they did or if they did not.
It's no way. Jennifer Lopez has been married so many times by now that she is going to.
I wonder if we polled all the people, all the celebrities, how many people actually had a prenup. It is very low.
So apparently, with Mark Anthony, as I was doing the research, it was kind of a clean break too. Like no alimony, no spousal support, go their ways. So I mean, she's a businesswoman at the end of the day. So I feel like, but I I'm gonna say this. Sound crazy, but like the J Lo effect, like Ben Affleck, like is he gonna Is he gonna bounce back? Mark Anthony, yes, he's still big in his Latin.
Yeah, Mark Anthony is huge. He's
Mark
huge.
Anthony is huge. Ben Affleck is huge, but like after them, I feel like the notoriety is, goes back to the lane that they were in, So he doesn't need to be an American icon, but also he is, he was a Latin icon. He is a Latin icon, but like together, they're like, and that's what she does. She dates like to be like almost a powerhouse
Right.
outside of the backup dancer that she dated for maybe just for love. That was the was it Love Don't Cost a Thing. I guess that was that song.
Y-
But with that being said, like the calm divorce and mediation, saving money, and really just and you taught me some things that you don't even have to be there half the time.
no, no, no,
I I called you like, wait a second, do people need to? You're like,
no,
no, the
no.
lawyer, because so the lawyer can sign, or how does that
No,
work?
well, I can speak for myself. I don't like to sign anything unless my client has a opportunity to read whatever we're doing. But nowadays, I'm in California, so you can appear remotely. Most hearings you can appear remotely unless there's a trial or some big hearing that we need to go in person. Status conferences, things of that nature, a lot of times the clients do not need to be present for that. Um, and so, what happens though, because of some of the things that we're talking about, a lot of people try to treat divorce court like it's TV, right? This is not social media, it's business. It's a real judge, a real courtroom. So, I think that's my mission for people to understand this is business. We have to treat it as such. But you never have to step foot in the courtroom unless there's disagreements. You can work things out with your lawyers, as we seen with J Lo. You can work things out in mediation. Divorce court should really be only when there's disagreements that just cannot be worked out. But sometimes, even in my cases, once you lock horns, it's really, really hard to unlock and get people to kind of be a little more reasonable in the process.
And even when you have a court date, that doesn't mean anything, right? Once you're there and you present everything to the judge, is that your final, or you may have to come back?
Well, it depends on what it is. There's multiple varying reasons to have a court date, right? Is it for a status conference? Is it for determination of custody or support or property division? It just really depends on what it is. But you can have 100 court dates depending on everyone's position, or you have zero court dates. It just really depends on how you want to navigate the process.
Well, speaking of, you said some family and parenting. This goes to my last one. When it wasn't a divorce, so Naomi Osaka, love her, and Corday, and they're having a breakup with a baby, which kind of goes back to my last question I didn't ask. Is like you're. Let me see how I can make this make sense. So before I go into Naomi, even thinking about Ben feeling like it looks like he was humiliated every time they were out. Can you bring that to court and say, like, I was humiliated. Now I can't get acting jobs because people look at me like J Lo's whatever. Can you bring that to court?
No, you cannot. You married J Lo, Ben. Nobody else. Nobody told you to marry J Lo. One, most states are no fault states. So the reason in which you got divorced, the impact it's having on you, that is not going to be entertained in divorce court.
What are there any false states? Like, is there a
There
state
are
that
still a few.
should get married in?
I can't think of them off the top of my head, but I think there are a few left that you have to show grounds as to why you need a divorce.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, there are a few left, I believe.
So last we have Naomi Osaka and Corday,
Mhm.
very young, but they didn't actually get married. So they just had a baby, but they're in the public eye. So we're switching the gears to you're not married, they have a daughter, breaking up, co-parenting, these public careers. And from a legal standpoint, like what does that, there's child support, decision making, custody battles, like what is the legal and do they come they don't come to you. They have to go to family court. That's different.
No, it's the same. Family court is the same. Divorce is part of family court. And what we're speaking of is, we call it here in California a paternity suit. That's just what they call it when you're not married. So in California, we have a strong 50-50 custody state if it's, in the best interest of the child. That's kind of our, I'm speaking broadly. That's kind of our broad standard in terms of where's the kid going to be. So we have what we call legal custody. So legal custody speaks to decisions about school, doctors, those sorts of decisions. And then, of course, physical custody is where's the child actually going to live on a day to day basis. So joint physical custody only makes sense if you're in the same place, right? So if I live in California and you live in Atlanta, the likelihood of us having joint physical custody is challenging because we're not in the same place, right? So a kid can't go here school one week, your house one week, because I mean that's just it's not realistic. But we might have joint legal custody. We might be able to make decisions together about school and extracurricular activities and that sort of thing. So those decisions have to be made. And of course, that's more challenging when you have a celebrity couple because typically they travel more. They might have different houses in different places. So that takes a lot of more um, discussions and getting along, if possible, just by the nature of the
But
relationship.
you still need a lawyer.
Right. Yeah, you definitely should at least talk to a lawyer. Yes.
Yeah, that. Oof. Yes, it's things cost. So I have a bonus one, and
Okay.
I'm trying to decide which one I wanted to use. So I have I let me see if make sure I pronounce her name. Kim Zoli. Is it Zolak or Zoliak?
Oh, the lady from Real Housewives? Yeah.
Yeah, Kim Zolak and Croy Berman. And he was like, he came on the show like very young,
Yes.
and now it's crazy because they like grown together from the Housewives, and it looks like they withdrawn their, with they filed, dismissed, refine, financial stress, and I think one thing that we spoke about maybe on the last couple of seasons were people staying because they just don't want to pay for the
Right.
divorce,
Mhm.
you know and what does that look like legally if you're staying in these positions just for the financial assets, and then something happens, the kids get sick, someone dies, or car accident, anything, legally they still have access to everything. Is that correct?
That is correct. If you're still married, um you're both on the hook and on the line for whatever happens during that marriage. So here in California, and I think it's the same in other states, before you get married, you have to identify a date that the relationship is over. We call it the date of separation. So you might not be legally divorced, but everything kind of stops at the date of separation. So that's a whole nother conversation, but there's something to be said about the date you identified that the relationship was over.
Wow, that's it's so much here, and it just goes to how all of this goes into real life, right? So, we got to do what would Demetria do? I have to do that. So, I'm just gonna just blurt them out.
Okay.
Cardi B, the financial hostage. What would be the first advice, legal advice, and maybe personal advice that you would give?
Right. So I'll take Cardi first because we're both Libras, right? So so I kind of know, like, don't push us. If you push us, then we will lock horns and we will be stubborn and we will fight to the dawn, right? But I would tell her the divorce space is not that's not that's not for our stubbornness, right? So take a step back. Doesn't make sense to pay some of the taxes, give them a house for your freedom. Do that. Get off social media. Stop telling your business on social media because at the end of the day, most people do not care. They are just being nosy to blog about and podcast about. That's it. Nope. People don't really care about it. And the things he's done to you, take to a therapist, a coach, or someone to kind of work through those things. But coming on social media to tell us all about it is not helping. And at the end of the day, right, your kids are going to have access to this information at some point in time. So the least you can put on social media, the better. Offset, get over it. Move on. She has moved on. Let it go. Men should consider therapy as well, right? So, especially black men do not like therapy. I think we're coming around to it. I think more are doing it, but there still is a stigma to therapy, and she is not going to be your bank. So whatever he's entitled to by way of the marriage, okay, here's the check. Get on about your business.
Okay, one last one. That wasn't rapid fire, but you gave that advice because you're just so giving. That is a Libra spirit. But one person we didn't talk about, but the rapid fire is going to be Jessica Alba, Cash Warren, 16 years, 16, 1, 6, 3 kids, multiple businesses that are thriving businesses. Long marriages creates deep financial entanglements. What do you say to Jessica Alba?
I would say what matters most to you, right? So if you can sit in front of the court, sit in front of the judge and say, Judge, I want XYZ. Maybe I want this business, he can have that one. We'll share this one. I want joint custody of our kids, no support, whatever it is. What is it that you want? And be okay with letting go of you're not going to get everything, right? And if it's possible, because of the nature of who they are, go to mediation. Mediation gives you more control of your situation. Not that it matters to her, but it's definitely more cost effective. And parties have more control to kind of navigate, especially situations like this. Their businesses come up with agreements that maybe the court won't do, right? The courts are going to do, again, I'll use California, 50-50, can agree, sell it, right? So from that framework, if that's not what you want to get in a space, in a platform where you can start navigating and outlining what works best for your family. And who knows that better than anyone else? You and your ex. You might not love all of their suggestions, love their ideas. He might not love yours, but that is the space to hatch it out and come up with something that makes the most sense for your family, because the judge is just not going to pour that kind of detail into each and every case that they have.
Oh, we're out of time, so we do have to go because I can keep going on, and I love you giving a more practical approach to these celebrity, the celebrity gaze because it can happen to anyone, and just like with parenting and businesses that you get into, just really protecting yourself. We're all about prenups and really understanding how to take your emotions out of a divorce, even though that's hard, and that's why we're always saying go to therapy, get a therapist, get a circle and really looking at what your life is going to be like in the future, holding on to that and moving towards that, opposed to holding the anger that we see a lot of people hold on. That's why we said like let it go. Let's just let it go. And sometimes it's letting go of money.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm excited to be here and we keep talking about it and we hope that, you know, we connected with someone even though we're talking about and send us your, celebrity divorces that you just want to get some insight on and we love hearing everything at just DM us at Legally Uncensored on Instagram or on TikTok. We're on YouTube, so make sure you can catch the all of the videos there. And at legallyuncensoredpodcast.com, you can find us.
Crystal, thank you for doing this. I want to do it again because I like that, you come and do my work for me. And like you said, follow us on Legally Uncensored. And thank you for joining us.